I'm Amira Hassan, 34 years old, and I never thought I'd be standing in a Dallas courtroom with my aunt pointing at me, screaming that I kidnapped her children. Kidnapped? The word burned through me like acid. 12 years ago she left 3 terrified kids on my doorstep and vanished. I raised them, fed them, and I loved them. And now she wanted them back. Not because she missed them, but because she'd found out about my real estate empire worth millions. This wasn't about family. This was war. She came to take what she wasn't part of. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted or had to fight for what's right? This story is for you. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop a comment of where you are watching from, and also sharing your own story of standing up to the family who wronged you. My name is Amira Hassan, and at 34 I've built something I'm incredibly proud of. I own a boutique real estate firm in Dallas, Texas, specializing in luxury properties and commercial developments. My company, Hassan Properties, has a portfolio worth over $8 million. I drive a Mercedes, live in a penthouse downtown, and my face has been featured in Texas Business Magazine twice. It sounds like a dream, right? But it wasn't always this way. 12 years ago I was 22, fresh out of college with a degree in business and entrepreneurship. I just started working as a junior agent at a small real estate office, making barely enough to cover rent on my tiny studio apartment in East Dallas. I was hungry, ambitious, and determined to prove myself. My parents had immigrated from Lebanon when I was 5, working brutal hours at their corner grocery store so I could have opportunities they never had. When they passed away in a car accident during my sophomore year of college, I promised myself I'd make them proud. But on one September evening, everything changed. It was around 8 p.m. I remember because I'd just gotten home from showing a property to a difficult client who'd wasted 3 hours of my time only to say they'd think about it. I was exhausted, heating up leftover shawarma in my microwave, when someone knocked on my door. Not a polite knock, a desperate, frantic pounding that made my heart jump. I opened the door and there stood my aunt, Layla Mansour, my mother's younger sister. Behind her were 3 children, her children. Kareem, who was 7, stood with his backpack hanging off one shoulder, his eyes red from crying. Rania, 5, clutched a worn stuffed rabbit, her thumb in her mouth. And little Zayn, barely 3 years old, was in Layla's arms, whimpering softly. "Amira, thank God you're home," Layla said, pushing past me into my apartment. Her makeup was smudged, her designer purse, one I recognized, cost more than my monthly rent, swinging wildly as she moved. "Aunt Layla, what's going on?" I asked, my stomach already tightening with worry. "Are the kids okay?" She set Zayn down on my couch. He immediately curled into a ball, his tiny fingers gripping the cushion. Kareem stood frozen by the door, and Rania started crying silently, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I need you to watch them," Layla said, not looking at me. She was checking her phone, typing frantically. "Just for a few days. Maybe a week. I have to handle some things." "Handle what things?" I asked, kneeling down to Rania's level. "Sweetie, it's okay," I whispered to her, but she just buried her face in her rabbit. "Business things. Personal things. I don't have time to explain, Amira. Your family. You'll help me." It wasn't a question. It was a statement. I looked at the kids. Kareem's jeans had a hole in the knee. Rania's shoes didn't match. Zayn's diaper was sagging, clearly needing to be changed. My heart cracked. "Where's Omar?" I asked, referring to her husband. "Gone," she snapped. "We separated. He's useless. I'm starting over, and I can't do it with 3 kids dragging me down." The words hung in the air like poison. Dragging her down. These beautiful children, her children, were burdens to her. "Aunt Layla, I can't just—" "You can and you will," she interrupted, her voice sharp. "I'll send money. I'll be back soon. They're fed, they're healthy. Just keep them alive for a few days." She grabbed her purse, checked her reflection in my hallway mirror, and adjusted her lipstick. Then she walked to the door. "Aunt Layla, wait." But she was already gone. The door clicked shut. The sound echoed through my tiny apartment like a gunshot. I stood there, frozen, staring at 3 children who looked as lost as I felt. Kareem finally spoke, his voice small and broken. "Is Mama coming back?" I wanted to say yes. I wanted to promise him everything would be okay. But something in my chest told me that Layla wasn't coming back in a few days. Maybe not at all. "Let's get you guys some food," I said instead, forcing a smile I didn't feel. That night I gave them the only real meal I had. leftover shawarma cut into small pieces for Zayn, who could barely hold a fork. Rania fell asleep on my couch, still clutching her rabbit. Kareem sat at my kitchen table staring at his hands. And Zayn cried for his mama until exhaustion finally pulled him under. I called Layla 17 times that night. Every call went to voicemail. I texted her, "Please call me. The kids need to know you're okay." No response. I lay awake on my air mattress. I'd given the kids my bed, staring at the ceiling. My mind raced. How was I supposed to take care of 3 kids? I was barely taking care of myself. I had showings scheduled for the next 3 days. I had bills due. I had a life that didn't include being a sudden parent to 3 traumatized children. But as I listened to Zayn's soft breathing and Rania's occasional whimper in her sleep, I realized something. They had no one else. My parents were gone. Layla's husband Omar had disappeared. And Layla herself had just proven she cared more about her own freedom than her children. So I made a decision that night, lying on that air mattress in my cramped studio apartment. If Layla didn't come back, I would raise these kids. I would give them the stability and love they deserved. I didn't know how. I didn't know if I could. But I knew I had to try. The next morning I woke up to Zayn crying. His diaper had leaked. Rania was asking for breakfast. Kareem sat on the edge of the bed, staring out the window like he was waiting for his mother to pull up. I changed Zayn's diaper. My first time ever changing a diaper, and let me tell you, it was a disaster. I made scrambled eggs that came out rubbery and toast that was slightly burnt. But the kids ate it anyway because they were hungry. I called my boss and told him I had a family emergency. He wasn't happy, but he gave me 3 days. 3 days to figure out my life. I called Layla another 20 times. Nothing. I reached out to other family members, distant cousins, friends of my parents, but no one had heard from her. She'd completely vanished. On day 4 I got a text from her. "Thanks for helping. I need more time. We'll send money soon." That was it. No apology. No explanation. No timeline. I waited for the money. It never came. By week 2 I'd burned through my savings buying the kids' clothes, diapers and food. I enrolled Kareem in the local elementary school and Rania in kindergarten, forging Layla's signature on the forms because I didn't know what else to do. I found a neighbor, Mrs. Chin. Wait, I can't use that name. I found a neighbor, Mrs. Abadi, a sweet older woman from Jordan, who agreed to watch Zayn during the day while I worked. I worked harder than I'd ever worked in my life. I took every showing, every open house, every difficult client. I worked nights and weekends. I sold 2 houses that first month, a record for a junior agent, and my commission checks kept us afloat. The kids started calling me Amira. At first, then slowly, heartbreakingly, they started calling me other things. Rania called me Auntie Mira. Zayn, who was too young to remember his mother clearly, started calling me Mama after 6 months. I corrected him at first gently, but eventually I stopped. Because what else was I to him? Kareem held out the longest. He was angry. Angry at his mother for leaving. Angry at me for not being her. Angry at the world. He'd have tantrums, screaming that he wanted his real family. Those moments gutted me. But slowly, over months and then years, he softened. He started doing his homework at my kitchen table. He started telling me about his day at school. And one night when he was 10, he looked at me and said, "Thanks for not leaving us, Amira." I cried myself to sleep that night. Meanwhile, I climbed. I went from junior agent to senior agent to broker. I saved every penny, living in that same studio apartment for 3 years even as my income grew. When Kareem turned 11, I finally bought a house, a modest 3-bedroom in a good school district. The kids each got their own room. I slept on the couch for a year until I could afford to add a 4th bedroom. I started my own firm when I was 28. Hassan Properties. I specialized in luxury real estate and commercial developments, and I was good at it. Really good. Within 4 years, my portfolio was worth millions. I bought a penthouse. I drove luxury cars. I wore designer clothes to client meetings. But every success was for them. For Kareem, who wanted to study engineering. For Rania, who dreamed of becoming a doctor. For Zayn, who just wanted to play soccer and eat pizza. Layla never called. Not once in 12 years. No birthday cards. No Christmas gifts. Nothing. Until last month. It was a Thursday evening. Kareem, now 19 and a freshman at UT Austin studying mechanical engineering, was home for the weekend. Rania, 17 and a senior in high school with a 4.0 GPA, was studying for her AP biology exam. Zain, 15, was on the couch playing video games. We'd just finished dinner, homemade kibbeh, a recipe I'd learned from my mother, when the doorbell rang. I opened the door and there she was. Layla Mansour. 12 years older but still polished. Still wearing designer clothes. Her hair was professionally styled, her nails freshly manicured. Standing next to her was a man in an expensive suit, tall, gray-haired, carrying a leather briefcase. Amira, Layla said, her voice warm like we'd just seen each other yesterday. It's so good to see you. My blood went cold. What are you doing here? I managed to say. I'm here for my children, she said simply, stepping forward. I blocked the doorway. Your children. My voice came out sharper than I intended. You left them 12 years ago, Layla. You disappeared. I had to get my life together, she said, her tone defensive. I was in a bad place. But I'm stable now. I'm remarried. I have a home. And I want my kids back. The man next to her extended his hand. Ms. Hassan, I'm attorney Jamil Farha. I represent Mrs. Mansour Khalil. She'd remarried. Take a new name. Built a new life. While I raised her children. I don't care who you are, I said to the lawyer. You're not taking them. Layla's face hardened. They're my children, Amira. Legally and biologically. Mine. I'm their mother. You're not their mother, I shot back. I am. I've been their mother for 12 years. You abandoned them. I left them with family temporarily, she corrected, her voice icy now. You had no right to keep them from me. Keep them from you? I was almost shouting now. You never called. You never sent money. You disappeared. The lawyer stepped forward. Ms. Hassan, we'd prefer to handle this amicably. Mrs. Mansour Khalil is willing to allow visitation rights if you cooperate. Visitation rights? I laughed bitterly. Get off my property. Now. Layla's eyes narrowed. I know about your business, Amira. Hassan Properties. $8 million portfolio. You've done well for yourself. Built quite the empire. My stomach dropped. What does that have to do with anything? You used my children, she said coldly. You played the devoted aunt, raised them and built your career on sympathy. Look at me, the young woman raising her aunt's abandoned kids. It's a great story, isn't it? Did it help you close deals? Did clients feel sorry for you? The accusation was so absurd, so vile that I couldn't even respond. My success had nothing to do with the kids. It was despite the challenges of raising them. I worked 80-hour weeks. I'd sacrificed everything. You're insane, I whispered. We'll be filing for custody, the lawyer said calmly, handing me a document. You'll be hearing from the court. Mrs. Mansour Khalil is also considering a lawsuit for emotional damages and unlawful retention of her children. I looked at the document. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely read it. Petition for emergency custody. Mansour Khalil v. Hassan. You can't do this, I said, my voice breaking. I already have, Layla said. Then she looked past me into the house. Kareem, Rania, Zain, come say hello to your mother. The kids had heard everything. They stood in the hallway frozen. Kareem's face was red with anger. Rania was crying silently. Zain looked terrified. I don't know you, Kareem said, his voice low and dangerous. Layla's face softened, putting on a mask of hurt. Kareem, baby, it's me. Your mom. You're not my mom, he said. Amira is. She's poisoned you against me, Layla said, tears forming in her eyes, fake tears I realized. She was performing. I'm so sorry, my babies. I never wanted to leave you. But Amira wouldn't let me see you. That's a lie. I shouted. We'll see what the judge says, the lawyer said smoothly. Good evening, Ms. Hassan. They left. I closed the door and collapsed against it, my whole body shaking. The kids surrounded me. Rania was sobbing. Zain was asking what was happening. Kareem was pacing, his fists clenched. She can't take us, right? Rania asked. You won't let her take us? I won't, I promised, pulling her into a hug. But inside I was terrified. Because legally Layla was their mother. And I was just the aunt who'd stepped in. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table reading the custody petition over and over. Layla was claiming I'd prevented her from contacting the kids. That I'd alienated them from her. That I'd used them to build my business and now refused to return them because I'd grown attached to the lifestyle they enabled. It was all lies. Vicious, calculated lies. But the worst part? I had no legal standing. I'd never filed for guardianship. I'd been so focused on surviving, on keeping us afloat, that I'd never formalized anything. On paper, Layla could walk into a courtroom, cry some tears, and a judge might just hand the kids over. I hired a lawyer the next day, Nadia Boutros, one of the best family attorneys in Dallas. She reviewed my case and her face said everything. Amira, I'm not going to lie to you. This is bad. You have no legal guardianship. Layla is the biological mother. Unless we can prove she's unfit or that returning the kids would harm them, a judge will likely grant her custody. But she abandoned them. I protested. Do you have proof? Documentation? Did you file abandonment reports? Did you try to establish guardianship? I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. I was 22. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew they needed me. Nadia reached across the desk and squeezed my hand. Then we build a case. We get statements from teachers, neighbors, anyone who can testify to your role in their lives. We show the judge that you are their mother in every way that matters. So that's what we did. We gathered evidence. Teachers wrote letters describing how I'd attended every parent-teacher conference, every school play, every soccer game. Mrs. Abadi testified that I'd been there every single day, never missing, never wavering. My business partner, Yasmin Nader, testified that I'd built my business through skill and hard work, not sympathy. But Layla had her own ammunition. She hired a team of lawyers who painted me as a manipulative woman who'd stolen her children and poisoned them against her. They dug into my finances, suggesting I'd gotten rich off her kids somehow, a narrative that made no sense but sounded compelling in legal documents. The court date was set for 6 weeks away. 6 weeks of hell. The kids were distraught. Kareem stopped eating. Rania's grades dropped. Zayn had nightmares. Me. I worked. Not on real estate deals, I could barely focus on those. I worked on our case. I documented every moment of the past 12 years. Every school form I'd signed. Every doctor's appointment. Every birthday party. Every tear I'd wiped away. I found old text messages from Layla, the ones she'd sent 12 years ago before going silent. I need more time. We'll send money soon. Promises never kept. I tracked down Omar, her ex-husband. He'd moved to Phoenix, remarried, and started over. When I called him and explained what was happening, he was furious. She did the same thing to me, he said. Left me with nothing. She's not doing this for the kids, Amira. He's doing it for money. She always is. What do you mean? I asked. Layla doesn't do anything unless there's profit in it. If she's coming for the kids, it's because she thinks she can get something out of you. Money. Property or something. His words echoed in my mind. And then it hit me. She knew about my business. She knew I was worth millions. This wasn't about the kids. This was about money. And I was going to prove it. The realization hit me like lightning. Layla wasn't here for Kareem, Rania, and Zayn. She was here for my money. For 12 years she'd been silent. No calls, no cards, no attempts to see her children. Then suddenly, after I'm featured in Texas Business Magazine with a headline reading "Self-Made Millionaire Amira Hassan Built Dallas Real Estate Empire by Age 34," she appears with lawyers? This wasn't a coincidence. This was strategy. I sat in my home office at 2 a.m. unable to sleep, staring at my laptop screen. I'd been researching Layla for hours, digging through social media, public records, anything I could find. And what I discovered made my blood boil. Layla had been living in California for the past 8 years. Her new husband, Bashir Khalil, was a failed investor who'd filed for bankruptcy 3 times. They lived in a rented condo in San Diego, not exactly the stable home her lawyer had claimed. Her Facebook was private, but her Instagram wasn't. I scrolled through years of photos. Expensive dinners, designer clothes, trips to Dubai and Paris. All while her children wondered if their mother was even alive. But what caught my attention was a post from 3 months ago. A screenshot of the Texas Business Magazine article about me. Layla had shared it with the caption, "So proud of my niece. Family success." My niece. Not my sister's daughter raising my abandoned children. Just casual pride in my financial success. The post had 47 likes. Several comments asked about her kids. She'd ignored every single one. I took screenshots of everything. Every post. Every comment and every lie. Then I dug deeper. I called Yasmin, my business partner who had connections in California real estate. Can you find out if anyone named Layla Mansour Khalil or Bashir Khalil has been trying to secure property loans recently? She called me back 2 hours later. Amira, you're not going to believe this. They applied for a $2.3 million loan for a luxury property in La Jolla. They were denied. Insufficient income and bad credit history. But get this. On their application they listed family support as supplemental income. When the bank asked them to verify, they couldn't. My hands were shaking. When was this? 4 months ago. Right before they hired the lawyer. It all made sense now. Layla and her husband needed money. Big money. They couldn't get it from banks, so they'd come up with a plan. Reclaim the kids, sue me for unlawful retention, and either extort a settlement from me or position themselves to claim I owed them child support for the past 12 years. With my $8 million portfolio, I'd be an easy target. But she'd made one critical mistake. She'd underestimated me. I called Nadia, my lawyer, at 6 a.m. I need you to subpoena Layla's financial records. Bank statements, loan applications, everything. And I need a private investigator. What are you thinking? Nadia asked. I'm thinking Layla isn't here for the kids. She's here for money. And I'm going to prove it. Within a week, we had a private investigator on retainer. A sharp, no-nonsense woman named Fatima Al-Rashid who specialized in family court cases. I gave her everything. Layla's social media, her addresses, her husband's bankruptcy filings. Give me 2 weeks, Fatima said. If there's dirt, I'll find it. While she worked, I focused on the kids. They were falling apart. Kareem had stopped going to his classes at UT Austin. He'd come home and just sit in his room staring at the wall. Rania was having panic attacks. Zayn asked me every night, are we going to have to leave? Are you still going to be our mom? Those questions destroyed me. But I couldn't let them see me break. I had to be strong. Listen to me, I told them one evening, gathering all 3 in the living room. I don't care what that woman says or what her lawyers claim. You're my children. Not by blood but by choice. By love. By every single day of the past 12 years. And I will fight for you with everything I have. Kareem's voice was bitter. But what if the judge doesn't see it that way? What if legally she wins? Then we appeal, I said firmly. And we keep fighting. I'm not giving up. Ever. Rania threw her arms around me, sobbing. I don't want to live with her. I don't even know her. You won't have to, I promised. Trust me. But inside I wasn't sure. The legal system didn't always care about what was right. It cared about what was lawful. And lawfully Layla was their mother. 2 weeks later Fatima called me. You need to come to my office. Now. I drove there in 20 minutes, my heart pounding. Fatima's office was in a nondescript building in downtown Dallas. She met me at the door, a thick folder in her hands. Sit down, she said. I sat. She opened the folder and started laying out documents. Your aunt is broke, Fatima said bluntly. She and her husband are drowning in debt. Credit cards, personal loans, unpaid rent. They've been evicted twice in the past 3 years. Bashir lost his job 6 months ago. Layla works part-time at a boutique, making maybe $25,000 a year. She slid over a bank statement. This is from last month. Their joint account has $347 in it. My jaw dropped. It gets better, Fatima continued. I found emails between Layla and her lawyer. She didn't scrub her digital footprint very well. In one email she explicitly states, and I quote, if we can prove Amira unlawfully kept the kids, we can sue her for damages and settle for at least $1 million. Even if we don't win custody, the threat alone might make her pay to keep them. I stared at the email, printed in black and white. Evidence of extortion. Of conspiracy. Of everything I'd suspected. There's more, Fatima said. I tracked down 3 people from her current social circle in San Diego. 2 of them confirmed she's been talking openly about getting money from her rich niece for months. One recorded a conversation. She played an audio file on her phone. Layla's voice, clear as day, laughing with friends at what sounded like a restaurant. I mean, she's worth millions now. Built this whole empire while raising my kids. She owes me, don't you think? I gave her those children. Without them, she'd probably still be showing shitty apartments in East Dallas. So yeah, I'm taking her to court. Either I get the kids and she pays me support, or I settle for a fat check and disappear again. Win-win. Laughter from her friends. My stomach turned. Is this admissible? I asked. Absolutely, Nadia said. She joined us halfway through the meeting. This is gold, Amira. This destroys her case. She's admitted in her own words that this is a shakedown. For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than fear. I felt rage. Pure cold rage. I want to destroy her, I said quietly. Not just win. Nadia and Fatima exchanged glances. We can do that, Nadia said carefully. But you need to understand, if we go nuclear, there's no coming back. We'll expose her publicly. We'll humiliate her in court. We'll make sure everyone knows what she tried to do. Good, I said. She abandoned her children. She let them think she was dead. And now she's trying to exploit them for money. She deserves everything that's coming. Over the next 3 weeks, we built a case that would bury Layla. We had financial records proving her motive. We had emails and recordings proving conspiracy. We had 12 years of documentation showing I'd been the children's sole provider and guardian. We had testimony from teachers, neighbors, doctors, and coaches, all confirming that I was their mother in every meaningful way. But we also did something else. Something I learned from years in real estate. You don't just win the deal, you control the narrative. I reached out to a journalist I knew, Miriam Tayan, who wrote for the Dallas Morning News. I told her everything. The abandonment. The extortion attempt. The audio recording. She was appalled. This is a hell of a story, Miriam said. Can I run it? Not yet, I told her. Wait until after the court hearing. If the judge rules in my favor, then you can publish. I want everyone to know what she tried to do. Miriam agreed. She started drafting the article, interviewing the kids, talking to Nadia and Fatima, and building a comprehensive exposé of Layla's scheme. Meanwhile, we had one more move to make. Omar, Layla's ex-husband, had agreed to testify. But we needed more. We needed character witnesses who could speak to Layla's history of abandonment and manipulation. Fatima found them. 2 women who'd been friends with Layla before she left Dallas 12 years ago. Both confirmed she'd talked about getting rid of her kids, about how motherhood was ruining her life, about how she planned to leave Omar and start fresh without the baggage. One of them, Huda Zara, had kept text messages from 2013. In them, Layla wrote, "I'm done being a mom. I'm too young for this. I'm leaving the kids with Amira. She's naive enough to take them, and I'll finally be free." We added Huda to our witness list. The night before the court hearing, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. 12 years of struggle. 12 years of sacrifice. 12 years of love. I thought about Kareem's first day of high school, how nervous he'd been, how I'd driven him there and waited in the parking lot just in case he needed me. I thought about Rania's first violin recital, how proud I'd been watching her on stage. I thought about Zayn's soccer games, how he'd scan the stands until he found me, then wave with that huge smile. These were my children. And tomorrow I would fight for them with everything I had. Kareem knocked on my door around midnight. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. "No," I admitted. He sat on the edge of my bed. "Amira, I need you to know something. No matter what happens tomorrow, you're my mom. Not her. You're the one who stayed. You're the one who showed up. That's what matters." I hugged him, tears streaming down my face. "I love you, Kareem. All 3 of you. You're my whole world." "We know," he said. "And we're going to win tomorrow. Because the truth has to matter." I hoped he was right. The Dallas family court was packed. I sat at the plaintiff's table with Nadia beside me. Behind me were Kareem, Rania, and Zayn, dressed in their best clothes, their faces pale but determined. Across the aisle sat Layla and her husband Bashir, flanked by their attorney Jamil Farha. Layla wore an expensive navy suit, her hair perfect, her makeup impeccable. She looked like the picture of a concerned mother. But I knew better. Judge Maria Delgado entered and everyone stood. She was in her late 50s, known for being tough but fair. I'd researched her extensively. She had a reputation for seeing through lies and prioritizing children's welfare above all else. "Please be seated," Judge Delgado said. We're here to address the petition for emergency custody filed by Mrs. Layla Mansour Khalil regarding her 3 minor children, Kareem, Rania, and Zain Mansour. Ms. Hassan is the respondent. Let's begin. Jamil Farha stood, buttoning his suit jacket. Your Honor, this case is straightforward. Mrs. Mansour Khalil is the biological mother of 3 children who were left temporarily in the care of her niece, Ms. Hassan, 12 years ago due to personal hardships. Despite Mrs. Mansour Khalil's repeated attempts to contact and retrieve her children, Ms. Hassan has unlawfully retained custody, alienating the children from their mother and building a life, and a fortune, off their sympathy. He gestured dramatically toward me. Ms. Hassan's $8 million real estate empire was built, in part, on the narrative of the devoted aunt raising abandoned children. She has used these children for personal gain while denying their mother access. We ask the court to immediately return custody to Mrs. Mansour Khalil and consider damages for 12 years of unlawful retention. I felt Kareem tense behind me. Nadia squeezed my arm under the table. Judge Delgado looked at Layla. Mrs. Mansour Khalil, is this accurate? Did you attempt to contact your children over the past 12 years? Layla stood, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Her performance was Oscar-worthy. Yes, Your Honor. I tried so many times. I called, I sent letters, I even tried to visit. But Amira blocked me at every turn. She told me I wasn't fit to be a mother. She said the children were better off without me. It broke my heart. Lies. All lies. But she delivered them with such conviction. I was going through a difficult time 12 years ago, Layla continued. My marriage to Omar was falling apart. I was depressed. I made the hardest decision of my life, to temporarily place my children with family while I got help. I thought it would be a few months. But Amira refused to return them. She turned my babies against me. A few people in the gallery murmured sympathetically. I wanted to scream. Judge Delgado turned to me. Ms. Hassan, you'll have your opportunity to respond. Mr. Farha, do you have evidence of these alleged contact attempts? Farha shuffled papers. We have testimony from Mrs. Mansour Khalil herself, Your Honor. Unfortunately, many of her attempts were verbal. Phone calls that went unanswered, visits that were turned away. No documentation? The judge asked, raising an eyebrow. The passage of time has made documentation difficult to retrieve, Farha said smoothly. I see. Judge Delgado made a note. Ms. Boutros, your response? Nadia stood calm and confident. Your Honor, we have substantial evidence that directly contradicts Mrs. Mansour Khalil's claims. First, I'd like to present this. She held up the original note Layla had left 12 years ago. This is a handwritten note from Mrs. Mansour Khalil, dated September 2013. It reads, I'll be back soon. Thanks, Mildred. Nadia caught herself. Excuse me, thanks, Amira. This note was found in a diaper bag left with the children. Mrs. Mansour Khalil never returned soon. In fact, she never returned at all until 3 months ago. The note was entered as evidence. Layla's face tightened. We also have text messages, Nadia continued, displaying them on a screen for the court. These texts sent from Mrs. Mansour Khalil to Ms. Hassan between 2013 and 2014 show a pattern. She requested money repeatedly but never once asked about her children's welfare. Not a single, how is Kareem doing in school? Or, is Rania okay? Just demands for cash. The text scrolled on the screen. The courtroom went silent. Furthermore, Nadia said, Ms. Hassan attempted to contact Mrs. Mansour Khalil 47 times in the first 3 months after the children were left. Phone records confirm this. All calls went unanswered. Ms. Hassan also sent letters to Mrs. Mansour Khalil's last known address. They were all returned as undeliverable. She presented the phone records and returned letters, all meticulously documented. Judge Delgado leaned forward. Mrs. Mansour Khalil, if Ms. Hassan was attempting to contact you 47 times, how were you simultaneously being blocked from contacting your children? Layla stammered. I changed my number. I was in a bad place mentally. I couldn't face. You couldn't face your children? The judge interrupted. For 12 years. I was getting help. Layla insisted. I was in therapy rebuilding my life. I always planned to come back. Yet you never did, Judge Delgado said flatly. Continue, Ms. Boutros. Nadia nodded. Your Honor, we'd like to call our first witness. Fatima al-Rashid, private investigator. Fatima took the stand, swore in, and began her testimony. She detailed everything she'd found. Layla's financial troubles, the denied loan application listing family support as income, the evictions, the bankruptcies. In short, Your Honor, Fatima concluded, Mrs. Mansour Khalil and her current husband are deeply in debt with no means of supporting 3 children. They don't even have stable housing. Farha objected. This is irrelevant. Financial hardship doesn't negate parental rights. It's relevant when assessing motive, Nadia countered. Your Honor, we have evidence that Mrs. Mansour Khalil's custody petition is financially motivated. I'll allow it, Judge Delgado said. Present your evidence. This was the moment. Nadia entered the emails into evidence. The ones where Layla discussed suing me for money. She played the audio recording of Layla laughing with her friends, admitting she saw the kids as a payday. The courtroom erupted. People gasped. Layla's face went white. Bashir slumped in his chair. Even Farha looked shocked. Clearly his client hadn't told him about these conversations. Order. Judge Delgado banged her gavel. She looked at Layla with open disgust. Mrs. Mansour Khalil, did you or did you not state that you planned to use this custody petition to extort money from Ms. Hassan? Layla stood shaking. That was taken out of context. I was venting to friends. I didn't mean. You said, and I quote, either I get the kids and she pays me support or I settle for a fat check and disappear again. Those were your words. Yes, but. No buts, the judge snapped. You've admitted on record that this petition is a financial shakedown. Do you have any idea how serious that is? Layla burst into tears. Real tears this time, but not from remorse, from fear. She'd been caught. Nadia wasn't done. Your Honor, we have 3 more witnesses. First, Omar Mansour, Mrs. Mansour Khalil's ex-husband. Omar took the stand via video call from Phoenix. He testified that Layla had abandoned the children with him first before leaving them with me. He described her pattern of running from responsibility, her obsession with money and status. She never wanted to be a mother, Omar said, his voice heavy with sadness. She saw the kids as obstacles to the life she wanted. When I couldn't give her that life, she left us. Then she left them with Amira. This isn't about reuniting with her children. It's about exploiting Amira's success. Next came Huda Zara, who presented the text from 2013 where Layla explicitly stated she was done being a mom and planned to leave the kids with me permanently because I was naive enough to take them. The evidence was overwhelming, damning and irrefutable. Finally, Nadia called the children. Kareem went first. At 19 he was technically an adult, but his testimony mattered. He stood tall at the witness stand, his voice steady and clear. I don't remember much about my mother, Kareem said. What I remember is Amira picking me up from school every day, helping me with homework, teaching me to ride a bike, staying up all night when I was sick. She worked herself to exhaustion to give us a good life. She never asked for anything in return. She just loved us. His voice cracked. That woman over there, he pointed at Layla, is a stranger. She didn't call on my birthdays. She didn't come to my graduation. She wasn't there when I got accepted to UT Austin. Amira was. Amira is my mother. Not by blood, but by every single day she chose us. The courtroom was silent except for muffled sobbing, from Rania, from several people in the gallery, even from the court stenographer. Rania testified next, her voice soft but firm. I used to dream about my mom coming back. I used to imagine what I'd say to her, how we'd hug and everything would be okay. But that was a fantasy. The reality is Amira raised me. She came to every school play, every violin recital. She held me when I cried about boys and friends and college stress. She's my mom. And I don't want to lose her. Finally, Zayn, the youngest, took the stand. At 15 he was nervous, fidgeting with his hands. But his words cut through everything. I don't really know that lady, he said, glancing at Layla. I've called Amira Mom my whole life. She's the only mom I've ever known. Please don't make me leave her. There wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. Even Judge Delgado had to pause, clearing her throat.